We are indeed back live. Momentary crash, everybody. Sorry about that.
There you are. Everything imploded.
Yeah, you know what it is. It's the government trying to shut the stream down because they don't like the truce that we said.
They're talking about Godzilla.
Jesse Ventura was right, man.
How dare they talk about Godzilla movies that aren't American? Sorry, American government. Well, we are here and live again. You want to continue? You were talking about how basically, no matter what he's done to improve other people's lives, he still hates
no matter what. And they point that out. Even the characters around him, like, dude, you need to marry that girl.
Yeah.
Like, look what you built. Look what you have. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, yeah, he develops friendships with the guys on the minesweeping boat, and they're all kind of like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Like,
and the baby calls him dad. He goes, "I'm not." He's like, "I told you, I'm not your dad." And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Why would you say that to the kid?" He's like, "What the fuck's your problem?"
That scene was pretty fucked up when "I'm not your dad." It's like, dude, she doesn't have a dad. Like, you've raised her. Like, but I think a lot of that was him mentally preparing because he was eventually. His demons. Well, not only that, but I think he was also telling himself, like, I'm not going to be here much longer. Like, I don't want to get these attachments. Like, I don't plan on living.
I think that if Godzilla wouldn't have came back, I think he would have found a way to, like, kill himself or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, he would have did something that was very dangerous.
He was having
died.
PTSD episodes. Absolutely.
The dreams,
like, he was freaking the fuck out.
I mean, to be honest, right, if he didn't have the woman and the girl, he probably would have offed himself long ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, he wouldn't still be alive to help fight Godzilla because he'd have been gone from dishonor.
So the human element is always troublesome with these movies, but again, another reason I like this one is this whole point. They're showing everything he's doing to improve, everything he's getting back in spite of losing his honor, losing his parents, losing his home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything.
And you're still like he still lives kind of in like a deserted area of not deserted, like a destroyed area.
It's like a fog. It's like a fog or whatever.
It's very much a slum because it mentally because
this movie adds complete insult to injury when Godzilla comes to the city, because then they're like he's listening on the radio. They're like, "Hey, Godzilla's coming in, guys," and he's like, "Oh shit!" And then they name the city that the girl he lives with is working in, and it's like, "Oh fuck!" Like,
well, the news reporters, we could probably not be up here. It's like, yeah, no shit. He's destroying the building right across the street. You definitely shouldn't be up there.
Those are the fucking tornado chasers, you know? Like, they're fucking there for the...
But I will say, the destruction, like you can, like, man, like, when he hits a building and fucking chunks of it just go flying through the air, I'm like, holy shit. Well, see, like, in the American movies, it's just collapse.
Well, that's kind of the also funny thing of it is, like, in the American movies, it's like, oh, man, he just took out the Empire State Building. And it's like, in these movies, it's like, he takes out an entire fucking city. A newly built city, because a lot of it was fucked. Like that, the mass destruction, like, think about the Godzilla movie from the 97 with Matthew Broderick, where it's like, oh man, his tail whipped into a building and destroyed a bunch of shit. And it's like, this movie's like, oh, speaking of his tail, it glows blue and it shoots nuclear explosions.
Dude, like, if you pit this Godzilla up against any Godzilla, including the American Godzilla, he would fucking wipe them clean.
Well, this Godzilla makes sense why a Mecha Godzilla would exist.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
You know, this Godzilla would make sense of why a Mothra would travel to fight it.
Yep.
Like, that's Absolutely. The difference. Is like, this is a menace to the world, and other menaces to the world I want to claim power.
The charging of his blast that he does too, it fucking shoots spikes. Like, when it charges, he like, it shoots up. Next one. Like, I love that part about that.
Well, okay, the regeneration ability of Godzilla in this one, where they blow his mouth out with the one mine, and you see it like Wolverine regenerating. And it's like, holy shit.
his entire body, I don't know if you noticed, it's like molting, and it's always like there's pieces that are falling off and just burning
he's
over and
growing.
over.
He's
It's
getting
just burning
bigger,
over and over.
bigger. Yeah.
That was pretty fucking
the
cool
scenes
as
in
well.
the oceans with the carriers and shit were really cool.
Dude, they were awesome. Dude, the scenes underwater when they fucking dropped him and brought him back up, I was like, that's fucking awesome.
The whole freeze thing, I was like, wait,
Yeah.
what are they doing here? And they're like, oh, they froze him. And it's like, how long do you think that's going to last? He's got the power of the sun in him.
But like, if you took the concept, like they're like, it's mentioned throughout the whole movie, nuclear energy, nuclear concepts. I like the American Godzilla because I like monster movies.
Yeah.
But you only hear the concept of nuclear energy in the beginning. And it's never explored again.
Well, even in the
movie.
Matthew Broderick one, it's only explained in the the 70s footage from when they were doing Vietnam bombings and World War II bombings. Like it's not even like it's not even a thing. It's just like old news reports and clippings, and like there really hasn't been a good Godzilla where they sit down and like this movie. Give me 25 minutes less of the love story, suicide, sad guy bullshit, and fill that in with somebody explaining the science of this giant irradiated fucking lizard.
I think the only one I've seen it in is Shin Godzilla. They explain his internals like a nuclear fission going on.
Well, I mean,
that's it.
The American one do the easiest thing, which is experimental testing. We created them. Like at the minimum, that's the easiest way to go about it.
But then it throws you off because it's like experimental testing. We created them. Oh, these creatures have been here before our time. Like which is it?
This isn't. It's not Cloverfield. It's Godzilla.
Yeah.
If you're doing Pacific Rim, and it's kaiju's coming out of the holes in the ocean, that's cool. That's its own separate thing. But that's not
coming
Godzilla.
From the core.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the problem is they want to make it like, and the first Godzilla remake, while it was well done, like once again, an hour without Godzilla, except for his tail, is stupid.
It was dumb. You get tidbits of him, and these movies go into it like
hard.
Here's Godzilla.
Yeah, I did like how
I was watching the movie, and you get 38 minutes of human story, the build up. With Godzilla trickled in.
Yeah.
Then you get an hour of Godzilla.
With as much destruction as he does.
Well, this one was almost 2 hours. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was almost 2 hours. Yeah.
Like, how do you get that much Godzilla considering every scene he's in, he destroys literally fucking everything? You know what I mean?
I know.
I did like how they showed teenage Godzilla, though, in World War II.
The little Godzilla?
He was teenage Godzilla.
Well, then, like, the mechanic blamed him for not opening up on it with his... plain machine gun. It wouldn't have done a fucking thing.
Yeah, and
I said piss him off.
2 years later, fucking too late. He realizes that
you're the one
because
he was the one that didn't control his man to not open fire on him.
But what's his name? The pilot. He proved it to him that he's like, dude, it took a cannon blast and it did shit.
Yeah, like I mean, come on.
He's like, even if I would have hit him with the fucking 50 cal or whatever it was, 30 cal, he's like, it wouldn't.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like 50 or 30. It wouldn't have done anything.
So, all right, I enjoyed the twist at the end where he flies into Godzilla's mouth.
That was nice. Yeah.
Then you think he's dead.
I knew what was going to happen though because.
Well, I liked it. I liked it because it was the mechanic being like, you don't need to die, dude. Like, pull this fucking lever. Like it's this guy who literally, when they meet again, beats the shit out of him.
Oh, dude!
Like swells his entire face up,
ties him up.
He fucking hits him with a pipe. Hits him with a pipe and then fucking ties him hands behind his back.
Beats the fuck out. And this same guy is just like, "Don't die for this, man. Like you don't need to do that." And like then you just see him parachuted out. And it's like, okay, I was hoping they'd like amongst the literal decimation of this entire city, like it's cool they give you a little bit of happiness.
That was actually
the very end.
That was actually like one of the decentest fucking throwbacks that I saw, like how they did the story back, like it showed.
I like that
happened.
part. Yeah, that part of it was solid. And then you've got the whole she's in the hospital.
Yeah. So to that point, at the end when somebody comes up, when the neighbor comes to him, it's like, hey, this letter came for you. I was like, oh shit, his parents are alive.
Yeah.
Then they show her, and I'm like, no. then they show the thing on her neck, and I'm like, yes. Yeah. And
I didn't see her neck. I didn't see her neck, but I thought she would have more scrapes and shit on her face, other than just an eye missing.
I think it's because she's infected.
Oh.
So like I think the factor is running through her.
Ah.
Yeah. That's why she looked the way she looked.
I'd have to see that again because I didn't notice the neck thing.
Well, I mean, then you've got the clear ending where he starts regenerating. The bits and pieces of him start coming back together.
Bubbling. It's a bubbling.
I mean, I'd love to see. I want to see a sequel to this.
They set it up for a sequel.
Well, let me ask you though. Sequel needs to be modern day, right? Or 80s.
I'd say 80s. It'd be cool if they keep.
Can you imagine Neon Tokyo taken out by fucking Godzilla, dude? Like, I mean, and we know they won't pull any punches.
Nope. And you know what? I think they set it up like that. It won an Oscar. Was it an Oscar?
For best visual effects or some shit like that.
Yeah, it won an Oscar. It clearly did really well over here, so I think they're gonna get another chance.
I think it's one of the biggest Netflix movies they put out. Like,
and it wasn't even supposed to come to US Netflix.
Nope. It was
basically Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was basically a surprise drop because they announced it basically for everywhere but the US. And then they were like, fuck it, we're going to do it internationally. And they dropped it all across the board.
Yeah, I was so excited. Dude, I was literally, like, when they were fighting him at the end, like, I was screaming. I'm like, come on, plane. Come on. What are you? And then when it went quiet and they show flying, and I'm like, yes.
I think that's another good point, is American movies almost try to humanize Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this movie, it's never a doubt, he's the bad guy. Like, Godzilla is not championed as a hero. He is a fucking creature that is going to kill everything.
But later on, he's like the anti-hero because he's trying to save everything, but he's not trying to save everything. You know what I mean? Like,
not in this one.
I know, but he's considered like an anti-hero later.
That's how he's painted. Like, like he in the American movies, he just wanted to be the number one king of monsters.
Yeah,
and he knew humans posed no threat to him, and it's like that's kind of shitty. Like,
that's also
in this one, it's like.
Well, but I could see how they go with that progress for sequels, as in he regenerates and comes back because Mothra is now attacking, or you know what I mean? Like, because one of these other creatures is attacking, they could still follow that sort of suit of like, he's not showing up to help anybody. He's showing up to establish dominance.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where even this move, a sequel to this could work, where it's, then you bring in the rest of that monster verse. And you can keep that idea, but you also keep him. He's not a good guy. He's not here on your behalf, people. He's here to show them that he'll kill everything, including them. And
now you're meaningless to me, so I'm gonna go kill the big guy. But sorry, I'm damaging your place.
Well, exactly.
He's still gonna fucking damage everything.
That's how you turn him into the anti-hero if you want. But he doesn't give a fuck. He'll destroy all of this city just to kill this creature because he's number one. And I think if you keep it in that animalistic tone, it makes the most sense in that progress of like, it's not
he's more
like,
destructive than Judge Dredd.
Well, it's not. Well, it's like I'm not a hero. I'm here to fuck this creature up, and then if I'm not too tired, I'll finish with you little things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the premise of sequels essentially in this, I think, kind of landscape.
Yeah,
in a smaller scale, Judge Dredd and John Spartan are Godzilla in a smaller scale.
and I think these movies, I personally feel this one and Shin, and I keep bringing up Shin because that was another low budget movie.
I wish it would have been available.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
I bought it. So I own it.
Yeah,
so.
I don't own it.
But I think these movies, I feel, are better than the American ones because, Godzilla, first and foremost, is a bad guy, not a good guy. Like, enemy number one. I love in this one how even after the war happened, and there was a brief segment that you get to where, like, America is trying to help, we feel bad, we dropped the bombs. Then they're like, hey, Godzilla's coming. America's like, yeah, we can't help you. Sorry. Nope.
Yeah, you're out.
Well, not only America, like even their own fucking province is like, yeah, I'm sorry, it's over there by you guys. We're not going to do shit about it.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, no,
sorry.
You go do you.
Which makes
It's
sense
just crazy.
considering the bombs were the final drop on Japan, but a lot of people don't realize that before we dropped those bombs, because we knew that the Japanese houses were made of wood, we firebombed their cities.
Yep.
So before we ever dropped those bombs, quite a bit of the populace was dead and without homes anyways.
And I'm not defending the bomb dropping. That was fucking crazy. But the two cities we chose were specifically chose because they were the least historical and least populated. And before we dropped the bombs, we dropped flyers to warn the people to escape. But by Japan law, if you read the flyers or tried to spread the flyers, you would be arrested. So they kept their own people in those cities because American flyers were telling them what to do.
They were using them as scapegoats. They were trying to use them as...
sacrifice with honor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys ready to give this thing a score?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows what that means.
We didn't change it yet.
The hot dogs doing the tracks is funny.
I like the dancing hot dogs. I'm trying to figure out how to put them in another position, like another a video that we can, that isn't there. But I find the dancing hot dogs funny. I just maybe it's just me.
They make me laugh.
I even put it in my Be Right Back screen. I put the little dancing hot dog in the armor part of it. It makes me laugh.
Nice.
All right. Giovanni, you spearhead this one. What do you give
it? This is I love monster movies. I love Godzilla. It's a 10 for me. Realistically, though, I enjoyed the movie. I think it's a great movie. I hope a sequel comes out. I'm going to score this an 8, solid 8. And the reason I dropped it was because for such a movie for Godzilla, they brushed over a couple things. One, they didn't explain as in depth as well enough how Godzilla got to be Godzilla.
They really don't give much of an origin at all.
Yeah,
none of them really do, unfortunately.
They don't, and I really, the reason that matters to me in this movie is because in the beginning of the movie when he lands on the island, somebody's like, they call it Godzilla, the people here. So there's knowledge of the creature. Then halfway through the movie, they kind of go into like documentary mode, and they just talk about nukes and bombs and drops. That's it. And then if I took somebody who wanted to see a monster movie, say, oh, I heard about these monster movies, and this was the movie I showed them, and they didn't know Godzilla, they would not fucking understand what happened here. Like,
there would be a very much of a like, why the fuck do I care about these people and this thing is destroying shit?
Like, you have to know who Godzilla is. You have to know the history. You have to know of the creature to enjoy this movie. And I think that's kind of a problem when you put a prerequisite in a movie like that, especially if you're paying attention. If you're not, if you're just watching the movie like, holy shit, he fires nukes, like, okay, you're good. Yeah. But if you start like, they didn't explain this, they're missing this piece to it, like, how did he get that big? Why is he regenerating? Where did he come from? Like,
the same thing can kind of be said about like King Kong too, because like they say there's an island that nobody saw, discovered, but how did it get there? Like, why haven't we discovered it yet?
I think if you showed them King Kong 2005, that's a fairly complete story. Skull Island explains more. It depends on which one of them you really show him, because the original the King Kong from like 2005 was based off the old story where like a big part of the mystery was this elusive island. But at least in that movie, they give you different creatures and basically showing you that the island they get him on is just this crazy, inhabited by all forms of death that you don't even know exists sort of island. Also, King Kong is helped out, much like Godzilla is a little bit. However, King Kong's helped out like it's in the 50s. So, that's the other premise with these is there's no internet. There's none of that sort of shit, which I think helps isolate these movies a little bit too.
Because that could also be explained for Godzilla, where he's on some kind of islandish. Because back in World War II, they probably didn't discover everything.
They were worried about surviving.
Yeah.
No, yeah, they were, but like even the men there who worked through the war was like, oh yeah, they know about this creature. He's here. It's like, okay, you're handling that pretty nonchalantly, like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like you know what I mean, like.
Considering
So
it's an underwater creature of doom. Yeah, a little bit.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like so the Godzilla lover, the monster movie lover in me, it's a 10 for me. But realistically, because of the holes and the prerequisites, I give it a solid 8.
I'm with Giovanni. For me, it would have been, as a Godzilla movie, it's a solid 9. I'm going to go a little lower as a, kind of how you explained, if you're just showing somebody this movie, I think it's a 7.5. Largely, I think that's due to the weakness of the human storyline in this. I think if I told somebody, hey, you want to watch a movie where a giant lizard fucks shit up, I think that would be the factor where they're just kind of like, why should I give a fuck about these people? You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, I solid 7.5 as a movie, but for a lot of the reasons you named, most, in fact, all of them, that's where it's at a 7.5. But as far as a
Yeah,
Godzilla movie, you know, just knowing the character and just wanting to see the new, well done Godzilla movie, yeah, it's an easy 9 for me on that one.
and and that's saying that this movie has the most cohesive human story
Yeah.
when tied to Godzilla.
Yeah.
And that's not saying much. Like, that's
No.
not saying much at all. Like,
Yeah.
Well, they at least kept it separate, except for when like it impacts them when he comes to the city. But like their own human struggle is left to the human struggle, not the human struggle because of Godzilla.
Right.
It's a human struggle
Yeah.
because of post World War II Japan and his, personal demons with not killing himself in the war. Like all of the human struggle until it gets to the city is kept separate from Godzilla really being a problem.
The only thing that was also part of Godzilla was the one man struggle with his own shit because he knew what happened.
Yeah,
and that was kind of his struggle.
I also think that was used as a device to talk about PTSD from the war in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think because even the mechanic has PTSD for his own reasons, not because Godzilla came, but because all of his men was wiped out.
Yeah. And that was a pretty cool scene too, where he gives him the fucking the booklet or whatever, the little paper wrapped, and he looks at it, and they don't show you what it is, but then later on you see it's all the family photos that these other soldiers that they had.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh shit, and that's what really weighed in on his, on his mind during that whole time.
I actually think one of the best characters is the mechanic when he comes back in. I really like this character.
And he actually gets clean cut afterwards.
Yeah.
Not only that, what he does for him is like the ultimate acceptance of like, I accept who you are and the choice you made. Like, you know what I mean?
It's kind of like, I don't want you dead anymore. I don't want you dead anymore. You shouldn't want you dead anymore either. Like,
yeah,
just stop.
But he doesn't tell him until the very last minute. He sets him up to carry out his request. He wants to be a kamikaze pilot again. So he sets him up, but then at the end you don't see it until later on.
Well, interesting that he put it in an ejector seat. I found that, and you got to wonder, I didn't do any digging, but is that because it was an advanced model?
Yeah.
Like, was that the whole thing? Because it was one of those models that didn't even become airborne. They were able to fit that technology into it.
Yeah.
Type thing, which I thought was a cool little nod to like, no, we got this. Alex.
I'm not like a big like a creature like Godzilla man like you guys are. But it was like an 8.5 for me. 8.5 for me because I did like the story of the human element of it. It didn't. I don't know. I just like the interaction of the humans on how they did everything together, and it was like a different story, but it was still cohesive with everything that was going on with Godzilla. To me, I liked the relationship that they had in there when even though they were saying like they didn't really care about each other, but they liked each other, but they were it was like one of those little coy things. But it's still, I don't know, it still was all like good to me. I liked how
I don't know, man. When I
like the telling of it.
When she looked at him and she's like, I need to get a job because you never find a wife with me in your house. I wanted to slap the shit out of her.
Well, she was only saying that because she knew that he wasn't gonna, progress with her. So she was giving herself an out. That's what it was.
Bitch, you don't get an out. He took you and this baby in. You chose your life. Fuck you. You know what happens when you go get a job? You get blowed up real good by Godzilla.
she knew nothing was gonna happen with him because of his demons. So she was like, I'm giving him myself an out.
Yeah,
But no,
not
but
like
I liked it. It was
I didn't see any
8.5
scenes
and-
where she tried. Anybody see any scenes where she just maybe touched his crotch a little? Because I didn't see that scene.
I thought you don't like
The
that kind of
only-
stuff in movies.
This would have
The
at least
only
made
scene-
sense.
She tried hard enough was when she pushed him out of the way and got exploded.
Yeah, the only time
Yeah.
you ever know that she has any emotion towards the guy is when she goes to sacrifice herself, and then it's like too late. Sorry.
Nah, but I think it was still a great movie altogether, man. All around, 2.5,
Yeah,
two,
it's a
2
good
hours and 15 minutes of great movie for me.
It was a good movie, and I hope they get a chance to make a sequel. I would love to see what they do with this Godzilla. I would love to see who he faces, what comes next.
Yeah,
It would be cool if they took it from like, they show like a Vietnam scene where it shows up, and then it's like 1984 Tokyo. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like show
So
some
this-
shit where he pops back up in fucking Vietnam,
This-
and show some of the old war, because there was a lot of recordings from Nam. Show
Yeah.
like in some
Mhm.
Nam footage of Godzilla.
Just him in the background, you know what I
Well,
mean? Like,
also-
what the
Yeah.
fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like,
Here's what they could do is like instead of being like a full size Godzilla again, it's a teen Godzilla or whatever, you know. And the whole napalm thing was actually Godzilla, when he was first learning to fucking shoot his shit again, because he's coming back from nothing.
Yeah, but could you imagine the scene though? Like even if he's a teen, so maybe if he's a teen, maybe that means his nuclear blast is a little bit smaller.
Yeah,
But the
like
scene you
napalm.
show is like they're recording it, and then you see like the Vietnamese and the Americans stop firing at each other, and they're like, "What the fuck is that?" They all start opening fire. He shoots his blast, screen goes white, and then that's the end of the footage. Like, you know what I mean? Like that'd be kind of like a cool scene.
Or it would explain like the whole Agent Orange that everybody was exposed to, Americans, and something in, like little, on a lower scale.
Or that's why he resurges, right? Like
mhm.
that's what brings him back, is there's a hint of it in the air still.
Yeah,
Now that it's back, he's back.
that would be interesting if they do something like that.
Well, Chernobyl's also would be a big thing to explore, not necessarily of like him going to Chernobyl, but that erupting and going into the atmosphere, bringing him
Mhm.
out of the waters would be kind of neat.
Or maybe that's what
That would be
brings Mothra and the other.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. You have that come out, and then you have a couple other creatures, and here's Godzilla to reclaim his throne.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for hanging out. Sorry for the intermediate interruption there we had for a minute. But we're done for the night. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you for watching. And I don't know what
Nikki
we're doing
G
next
and
week.
Sky Rock.
Yes, thank you, ladies. Not entirely sure what we're doing next week, but we'll get it figured out, as we always do. Still waiting on that Guy Ritchie movie. Although we could do a Guy Ritchie 3-pack once that movie hits streaming proper. Because there is that other movie that he made that just didn't do anything. I bought it, I think, for $5 on iTunes, but it came out right after The Gentleman. I think it was like a pandemic movie. I don't remember what it was called. And then there's that other movie with what's his face, Henry Cavill, called Argyle by Matthew Vaughn. That looks interesting. So we'll get that figured out. Until next week, though, you guys have a great evening. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.